संसार सारा रोशन करे कोई हो संग कोई हो प्यार प्यारा जीवन लगे रास्ते कठिन ये छोटी छोटी खुशियाँ यहाँ चुन ले आज जो भी मिले इस ज़मीं की यही दास्तां है जिस्म और जान एक दिल तो होना है ओ नारा है कितनी सदियां ना जाने खामोशी से यूं ही अच्छा यहाँ मैंने I think I played a wrong chord here. I think we maxed out again.
Wow, you caught me right in the zone.
We were in the zone. That was jamming, baby.
No, you were not in the zone. I was in the zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr.
I saw
Faraz.
you had your eyes open the entire time. So.
Mr. Faraz Anwar.
Mr. Faraz Anwar.
So what's up with that story, man? What happened there? What is that about?
Rock Musicarium, Islamabad. Actually, I don't know what year
were you at that show?
I was not. I was at an earlier show, though.
Oh, okay. But what is this story? What Mr. Faraz Anwar? Something to do with Ali Noor, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, all I know is, you know, what I think everybody knows is that Ali Noor and all these guys were sort of out there in Islamabad at this venue called Rock Musicarium. I've never actually heard of it, but I've heard amazing things.
I mean, I know at some point, Noori was, and even in the US when they're doing a tour, they brought Faraz Anwar with them. So it may be part of that era where, you know, these guys were collaborating.
It might have been. I feel like this was around 2010 or 11.
Yeah.
And essentially they brought him on. What was the song that they were covering or they were doing? It was
it a cover? I don't even know. This is your story.
Well, we don't know the song that they were actually doing. But nonetheless, Mr. Faraz Anwar came on and just tore it up.
So who was introducing him like that? Mr. Faraz Anwar.
So it was Ali Noor.
Yeah.
He came up. Somebody find out what the song was. But yeah, so I mean, basically it was just a legendary solo. And
really? Okay.
You can even feel it on the audio recording. I mean, just the way that the crowd was sort of feeling it.
Yeah.
Even during, there were like people just sort of like, I can't even say they were screaming. They were sort of like,
in awe,
yelping, like
really?
I guess, like in pain, like or just like in awe, like and wonder about like what was happening in front of them. As Faraz Anwar was just shredding it, and then right after he finished the solo, that's when Ali Noor was like, "Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Faraz Anwar."
That's classic.
And he just like extended the Anwar for whatever. And I can only imagine the look on Faraz Anwar's face at that point. Because, I mean, to be quite honest, I bet you that 25% of the crowd that day, at least, did not know who he was. Because that's just what Pakistan is.
The notoriety for, like, the maestros is kind of on the low end, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, tell us about Faraz Anwar and why you do consider him to be a maestro. I mean, one of the best guitarists Pakistan has produced, right?
Remarkably, and not just Faraz, actually Amir Zaki too. These guys started as kids. They were young. Faraz was not more than 16 or 17 years old. And the first record that I heard that he played was Music Channel charts ki jo aate the tapes. Back in the day, he was on volume 1 of that, which is probably circa 92, 93-ish, I believe. And usme ek gana tha, which is, you know, it was rare to have these funk rock riffs. So the Gana was Akela. Dil Akela hai jaane kyun Akela. It was a very burger type of song. So hum log to mazak udate the us gaane ka. Because it was very, but then like, he had an amazing riff in there. And then he played a kind of a lighter solo that, I think he's come a long way probably since then. And then that was listed under Faraz, just Faraz, right? Then he went on to do more, and he played a lot of sessions for like guys like Nadeem Jaffrey, Ali Haider, and some of these guys. And then I saw another song that came out under his name with the band Live Sketches. Either Sketches or Live Sketches, something like that. वो भी बड़ा वो punk rock type का
This
गाना
was in
था
the
वो.
mid-90s?
This is still in the mid-90s.
Okay.
You know, you're looking at around 90s.
Yeah, because you're mentioning Ali Heather. He actually played for Ali Heather.
He played a lot for Ali Heather.
I don't know.
Maybe even Sajjad Ali.
I don't know if I can respect that, but maybe.
I know it's difficult, man.
It's the struggling life of a guitarist in Pakistan
Yeah.
at that time, I'm sure.
You have to go where the gigs are, dude.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
you have to get paid. So and then he started getting really badass. He went into this group called Collage. In Collage was all their songs were very folkish, very desi-ish with metal, right?
Okay.
So their songwriter, their lead singer-songwriter, Naveed Zafar, right? He wrote that one song, you know, Mujhe baar laga de do. You know that one, right?
Yeah.
From their albums, and then Guljana.
Yeah.
So
So they
when
had
I
very
started-
sort of Eastern melodies,
Very Eastern
but
melodies.
with rock infusion.
And then Faraz was just riffing through these things throughout the entire
Yeah.
album, dude. That's where like,
That's what Faraz does best.
yeah, and it was amazing. And this is like right after Inqilab came in.
Yeah.
So you know,
Acha.
we talked
Okay.
about the Kanwar too. Like Junoon had set that standard. Like now, rock guitarists
Right. So
and
Pakistanis had been somewhat acculturated to
By
this
that
like
time, yeah.
kind of heavy-hitting rock.
mid '90s.
I don't know if you can call it Junoon heavy-hitting rock, but maybe we can discuss that at a
Well,
later
the
time.
classic rock band.
Classic rock,
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll
But
get
but Faraz Anwar definitely upped it.
that's
a notch.
metal. That's
Yeah,
straight up
yeah.
like prog.
I mean, I don't know if it was like heavy metal,
Yeah.
but it was like metal.
But he's done a lot of punk songs,
Yeah.
right? With
What do you know his influences at all?
not really, man. Like
Like are they like
somebody
Joy
told me he was
Division,
really into
like
Joe
Pink
Satriani.
Floyd? Acha.
Maybe Floyd. I don't know. Somebody told me he was really into Joe Satriani. Well, as a matter of fact, interesting thing is that his album Abstract Point of View,
Yeah.
which I bought over the internet,
Which was a solo album, right?
which was a solo instrumental
Oh,
album.
Instrumental, yeah.
Incidentally, it was getting distributed by one of Faraz's heroes, whose name was Alan Holdsworth.
Who was that guy? British?
He's I don't know much about him.
Okay.
I'm kind of ignorant about.
But he's one of his idols.
He's one of Faraz's idols, so he must be a big deal, right? So we're actually guilty as charged on this one.
Yeah, yeah.
ठीक है. So, well, to make up for that, this guy was distributing this out of Irvine, which, by the way, is very close to us because we are based out of Los Angeles. I'm going to take this opportunity to introduce. This is a podcast that we're doing. I have my buddy here, Hamad Alam,
Hey, hey.
and my name is Ali Qazi. We are based out of the LA area. We are hardcore Angelinos, as well as Pakistani music fans.
Are we? I'm kind of a Los Angeles hater, but anyway.
You're a hater? You can't be, man. You live in LA.
I do. You can hate on where you live.
Fine.
Yeah. No, LA's a great town. We just don't really end up getting any of the gigs that we actually want when we want them. We're kind of ignored.
I'm very happy.
But then again, we have not established a very good reputation for ourselves, have we? I mean, in the mid-90s and 2000s, there would be shows, right? Junoon would come.
Yeah.
But apparently they'd be very disappointed
from
with
the
the amount
DC
of
stuff,
crowd.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Atif Aslam comes a lot because a lot of Indians. Indian community does huge shows around here.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
Yeah, all right, fine.
So Faraz Anwar, I mean, so I actually know him or know more about him sort of post 2003 when there was that revolution that occurred, I think. Where
Was
Junoon,
he?
I mean, frankly, Junoon was really the only band that was really on the scene, right? I mean, on a sort of, not just, I'm not talking about global scale, but I'm talking about more of like a regional scale. कि मतलब
Yeah,
India में सब जानते थे, Bangladesh में सब सुनते थे. But then you had this massive explosion, and Mizraab, which Faraz Anwar fronted, was one of those bands, and they came out with Mazi Hal Mustaqbil. And what impression did that make on you?
Well,
I'm curious to know your
I
thoughts.
was following him throughout anyway.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, in little known fact, Mizraab actually had an album before Mazi Hal Mustaqbil.
Okay.
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
It
I thought that
was-
was their only and debut album.
It was not. As a matter of fact, this album was very, very organic, and the Mizraab at that point was made of 3 people, Faraz, and I think maybe Khalid, and their friends. They played together in Collage, and I think even Mizraab Khalid Khan, I think that's his name, Khalid Khan, contributed to some of the songs in Mizraab's Mazi Hal Mustaqbil as well. So Khalid Khan is the bass player, Faraz, and then there was another person on dholaks.
Okay.
And that's how that entire album was. Guitar, bass, dholak.
Dholak.
Yeah.
Okay.
And probably not even tabla, just straight up dholak.
Very Eastern sound.
Very Eastern sound.
Yeah.
तो कुछ गाने जो वो थे ना like Panchi. How does that song go? Sham hui garo.
Right. Yeah.
So that was a little more simplified in that album, but it was there.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, and there was a few sweet songs in there that.
So it was Kitni Sadiya from that? Too?
No,
that was
I don't recall that
from
from.
or that was me.
I think Panchi is the only song that I recall that was from that album that carried
from
over
Karachi's
to the.
album.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I knew.
Yeah.
What Faraz was up to because we were following this.
Yeah.
And by the way, for somebody who's not been to Pakistan at all since the age of 5.
We haven't talked about that, but yes, Mr. Ali Ghazi has actually never stepped foot in the motherland.
Not since I was 5
myself,
years
but
old.
actually just happens to know so much more, as you can imagine. I'm really just here to have a conversation with Ali Ghazi and see what his knowledge is. But I wanted to mention that one of the remarkable things that I noticed in 2003 and 2004. So I went to Pakistan in 2004. I actually lived there from 1999 to 2001. I went to high school there.
Oh wow!
And one of the remarkable things that I noticed was that the scene was so sort of mature and developed at the time that you had these camps, right? You had youth who called themselves Mizrabians and they hated like anybody who listened to Nuri. You had people who only listened to Nuri and maybe like threw it back to Vital Signs and some of the other old school strings and hated Mizraab because of the fact that they were really heavy. And actually, I heard that there were fights that would break out between these two factions and camps at various shows. And now it's just like, if we can just get any band to get together in Karachi or Lahore or Islamabad, it'd be just fantastic. Right?
You know what? I would love to see some video footage of these altercations.
I would. There were a couple of forums. And
I bet you if
boards.
it happened in this day,
yeah,
there would be videos for it all over the place.
I'm sure there would be. But back then, I think obviously cell phones weren't quite as widespread. But yeah, so I actually went back in 2004 and I spent a summer there, and I went with the mission of catching as many concerts as I possibly could.
Yeah.
And I remember one day my cousin who lived there, grew up there, came back home one day from work, and he said to me, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow?" And I looked at him and sort of was like, "Are you joking? Like I literally just sit here and play PlayStation with your brother all day while you're at work." And he literally just threw these tickets at me.
Really?
That he had already bought, and it was the summer of 2004. It was at Behri Auditorium in Karachi. Yeah. And the lineup was EP, Call, Mizraab.
Wow.
And then Junoon headlining.
Junoon headlining. Holy moly.
So.
And you saw that. You saw that concert. You were there.
Yes.
Did you save your ticket stub for memories?
You know what? Actually, I think I did.
Yes.
And one day I will show it to you. And
you should frame it.
I should record it because I'm sure you're going to cry.
I will cry, yes.
I'm sure you will. So we went. And frankly, my cousin wasn't really that interested. It's funny because he grew up there. He just was not as interested as I. I think he was more just taken aback, like, why am I so into this?
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding you. I enjoyed every single minute. And I can honestly tell you. I mean, I think I want to say that maybe EP came first, and then Mizraab came, and then Call, and then after that, Junoon came. I think that was the lineup.
Okay.
Which tells you a little bit, right? Is that EP wasn't maybe considered sort of as talented as Mizraab. Anyway, but I do remember that when Mizraab पहुंचा था, तो there were actually a lot of comments being made from the crowd of फालतू किस्म का band है, बिल्कुल बकवास है, this and that. And so that was a sentiment. I'm just sitting there, I'm belting out every single lyric that they're for the songs that they're singing. Yeah. And then I this is where the trip really got insane. I actually got to meet or saw Faraz Anwar at a random Pizza Hut in Gulshan Iqbal. Those who are in Karachi or have been there.
Well, okay, let's get into that story.
So I mean, really, there's not that much of a story. I mean, for one thing, I just freaked out. Right, I'm with my entire family.
Naturally, yes.
Naturally, of course, I freak out. And remarkably, only my sister really knows why I'm freaking out. My cousins there don't even know. They're like, what the ho kya gaya tumhe, tum hosh mein ho, what's going on? And my sister's like, oh, that guy's a famous guitarist. And they're like, what famous guitarist? And so I go outside, I beg someone to like give me the copy of the receipt that we had from the Pizza Hut for the dinner.
Yeah.
And I go back inside, and Faraz Anwar is just chilling with like 4 of his friends, and by the way, like nobody recognized him. I think not even the waiters recognize, like nobody recognized him, which I think is like a separate issue of like class and how sort of in Pakistan how that operates, and like access to like music or like, you know, TV or sort of the web, especially at that time in 2004, right? And he's sitting there, बस ऐसे ही मतलब गपशप हो रही है कॉन्सर्ट के एक दिन बाद.
अच्छा.
और मैं उनके पास गया हूँ, and he like kind of looks at me, he's like, why is this guy approaching us? and I look at him and I'm like, are you Faraz Anwar? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, I just want to tell you that I'm from California and you have a lot of fans there, and I saw you in concert yesterday and it was sick. And he was just like, what? And I think there was a moment where he was just like really taken aback, and he's like,
really?
And then I think he said, California? And I was like, yes. I was like, okay. And
wow,
so
dude.
I basically got his autograph. I did not keep the autograph. I think I lost
what?
it. But anyway,
shame on you.
Anyway, शुक्र है, मतलब यादें तो हैं, यादगार चीज़ है.
चलो ठीक है.
And yeah, that's my Faraz Anwar story. But the man was extremely humble. I don't know about now. Obviously, it's been 16, 17 years now. But very humble guy.
Let me tell you my Faraz Anwar story.
Yeah.
The closest contact, one-sided, even though, because on my 40th birthday, my wife traversed the internets and hunted down all my Pakistani favorite guitarists, including Faraz. And he sent me a happy birthday message.
Yep.
And that was amazing.
Yaar, wife ho to
but
aise.
it was very Faraz Anwar-like. Because if you look at his interviews and stuff, that guy is just kind of... And I think it's a thing with like... You know how the goth people are just like really, you know, like... Koi bhi hote hain jo, hey, haan.
I'm not buying it. I'm not subscribing or condoning this stereotype. This is Ali Qazi speaking. So go ahead.
I mean, they have that personality, like they're
Sure.
really dark.
Yeah, sure.
Right? So Faraz Anwar was like
shoegazers.
He was like, hello Ali, happy birthday, many happy returns of the day. Just in that monotone. It was beautiful though, because I know Faraz.
Yeah.
I know him like that,
because like it
right?
fit his personality.
Yeah.
As the way that you perceived it to be.
The way I love
perfect.
him, and you know, I'm like, bam, that's him, man.
Yeah.
It was amazing, dude. Just that little, you know, message.
That's
beautiful.
That's amazing. Yeah, and you got that message from a ton of other artists too.
I got it from
you've idolized basically.
Sir Asad Ahmed, Omran Shafiq, and Mr. Salman Ahmed himself.
Wow.
So that was that was a great birthday present.
And your 40th birthday was what, like 10 years ago? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, well, I've been 40 since then. So.
No. Mr. Ali Qazi is evergreen in every sense of the word.
Yeah, just because of my childish attitudes.
I wasn't gonna comment. But
hey, you gotta live, right?
I got your topic chaired here now. So I mean, tell me, like, why are we talking about Faraz Anwar? I mean, a lot of people might wonder, like, what is the reason?
Because he's a legend, man, and he's and you know, it's
I have
amazing,
my
like,
reasons.
You know how you talk about people in Pakistan that you were hanging out with and they don't know him and whatnot. This is a weird idea that जब कोई दूर से, you know, when you like somebody from far away, they seem a lot more legendary to you than the people that are around them. Have you noticed that in other things?
So is your theory that because people are they don't take them for granted? I mean,
that's what I think. So I don't know how.
Or sorry, they take them for granted. You mean?
Yeah, I don't know if you've felt that way.
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we, you know, as immigrants, and sort of trying to navigate the immigrant experience as young Pakistani Americans or whatever you want to call it. I think we're constantly exploring or trying to figure out who we were and where we fit, and you know what part of us was Pakistani, what part of us was American, and I think we continue to do that in various ways, right?
Yes.
And that was a part of that, not just discovery, but also a self-assuredness of where we come from and who we might be in some ways. And the reality is nobody else can understand that except for each other, right? I mean, I only share this with you in these spaces, but even with a lot of other Pakistani American friends that I grew up with, they have no clue whatsoever, and they probably could not care any less, and that's okay. So there's no doubt, obviously, that we're music lovers, but at the same time, we also were trying to find out, hey, what does it mean to be Pakistani, and come from that place, and that was a way for us to explore that. I think दूसरी बात ये है कि there is a little bit of a, like I said, a class issue in Pakistan. I think that certainly a lot of these artists that have come out generally from a kind of upper middle class or upper class echelon in
where
Pakistan.
The Western influence is much bigger
because
than...
affording guitars and equipment and recording, all that sort of stuff is not easy. It's not cheap, and you have to and frankly you have to culturally come from a background where your families are encouraging or at least not obstinate and sort of say you cannot do this, right?
Where the religious aspect kind of comes in.
वो भी है. I mean, obviously I don't want to.
Interesting fact about Faraz himself, and this is I've heard from a TV interview of they were actually, this is from a recent interview where they were honoring Amir Zaki, and they had Faraz, Shalom, and Kashan, Kashan from Mizraab, and those guys were talking about Amir Zaki and stuff. Faraz ki apparently there's a reputation about him कि इनके रूम में गिटार एक साइड पे रखा था और टेबल पे जानमाज़ रखी होती है.
Right.
So, and I've heard from like some other sources too that he's kind of a devout, person.
Well, I mean, and alhamdulillah, I think obviously whether someone is or not, and I do think that that's a sad sort of reality, is that there's always this sort of like mutual exclusiveness exclusivity that's created between ये music वाला बंदा है तो फिर ये तो मतलब
music ही है
मज़हब की तरफ तो रुझान हो ही नहीं सकता, right? I mean, and that's a really sad sort of thing, is that why can't you imagine someone being a dynamic individual who is such an amazing guitarist and musician, but also at the same time, in whatever way that he wants to express and manifest it, is spiritual or is sort of quote unquote religious or whatever you want to call it. Though I mean, that's definitely. But even beyond the religion thing, I think a lot of it has to do with class issues in Pakistan. A lot of it has to do with ethnic issues in Pakistan as well. I mean, I think obviously to a large extent, a lot of these artists are either from sort of elite Punjabi families, like elite sort of Urdu speaking families, or many of them are actually Christian or Parsi from Karachi, right?
Right.
You have, or you have people like Gumby and
Alan Smith,
Zoe Vikaji, right? I mean, you have these different artists who are coming from these different backgrounds where culturally it is definitely a lot more it's normalized to pursue music.
Right.
So so I think that's my theory as to why sometimes there is this gap.
Yeah. So apparently, from what I've seen on Facebook, there's going to be some new material coming from Faraz Anwar. We're going to wait for that.
Okay.
I think there's an instrumental video that's out already.
Nice.
I don't know the name of it.
He's been coming out with some materials like slowly but steadily anyway. Right?
I think at one point he was in the U.S.
Nescafe, he was on Nescafe for a little bit.
Right. I think he was in the U.S. for a few years, going to Berkeley School of Music, which is kind of well known in their circles in Pakistan, by the way. Yeah. Lekin since Mazi Hal Mustaqbil
actually went there.
Oh, did she? Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
She went to Berkeley,
yeah. So since Mazi Hal Mustaqbil, which was around 2005-ish, 2004 maybe, Jamie, their guitarist, he had passed away.
Yeah, that's right.
So since then, Faraz tried to rebuild the band by adding more people in there. If you look at the video for वो बड़ा प्यारा सा जो गाना था इनका called उजालों में. Yeah, that one. So you'll see some faces in there that are different. And I think that may be an effort to rebuild the band back up after Jamie's passing. But then I guess it's really hard to get a band going.
Ujalo I think came out maybe 5 years or 4 years after they dropped that album.
Yeah.
And honestly, I thought that was like some sort of like hint or a precursor.
Yeah, to a resurgence, right?
And then nothing happened.
Yeah. Well, then there was another song that was really fun. That I like. I listen to it a lot. It's called "Tension Lene Ka Nahi." Have you heard that one?
No.
Oh, it's got a funk beat. Oh, not a funk beat, but more kind of that's used in hip hop a lot of times, and then he's doing metal riffs on there.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing combination. It's an amazing song, dude. It's a fun song.
So it's kind of in the same vein as like Surtaramida and like those sorts of songs.
Probably.
Yeah, play buses at the button that he cheats.
Yeah, a little bit like that. Okay. Yeah, but it was a So that's really the last song that I've heard from him, and until this new instrumental that came out, and then I think he's gonna be dropping an album with some songs. So we're gonna look forward to that.
So by the way, it was Mere Log that they were playing on stage.
Oh, okay.
Mere Yaar Mere Do.
Nouri's song, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And that's where Faraz Anwar came in. And I'm not sure if he played guitar on any other songs that day, but that was the song that I think has been etched into our memory.
Interesting.
And helped by the fact that Ali Noor then sort of loudly introduced Mr. Faraz Anwar.
Man, we love that guy. All right, I'm done here. We're going to sign off now?
All right.
All right.
Khuda Hafiz.
Khuda Hafiz.